All right, friends. Greetings, salutations, and welcome to the Sunday Sermon. I am Reverend Riff, your host today. I hope everybody's been having just a great week. I hope the weather hasn't been too hot for you where you live. And if it has, I hope you've been able to cool off inside. Hope you got to have fun with friends and just do any varied number of things. I hope that the week was everything you wanted it to be. Just a brief scheduling update. This Wednesday we will be doing Real Scary. I think we are going to do an extra special Real Scary since I am going under the knife on Thursday and don't know how I'm going to be feeling in the initial days after that. We are going to blow the doors off it on Wednesday night. We're going to do a double feature. So I will get that poll up later today. It's going to be ranked choice, so you can vote in order that you like them, and we'll see what the aggregate is and pick 2 movies and go with that on Wednesday night. So I hope you can join us. We have a lot of fun on Wednesday nights watching the movie. So yeah, hope you'll be there for that. Next Sunday, we're going to play it by ear. I'm not going to outright cancel the sermon yet, but it is going to depend how I feel. If I am still not feeling great after the surgery, I'm not going to subject you all to me trying to stumble through a Sunday sermon not at the top of my game. So I don't know how I'm going to feel yet, but just wanted to get that out there and make sure everybody was aware. So again, thank you for being here, and we're going to do something a little different, something we haven't done before. If you know me, you know how much art matters to me. I love it. I've studied it extensively. It's a big part of my life. And one of the things I love about art is that there's always more than meets the eye. And when you look at any artist's painting, there's what you see. But what you don't see is a lot of the reasons that they chose the things they did. And that to me is always the most fascinating part. Some people look at a bowl of fruit painting, let's say, and they say, oh, wow, he really captured that. That looks like a bowl of fruit. I prefer to ask the questions, well, why did he pick those fruits? Is there a specific message behind the fruits that he chose? That's one of the things I like to do with art. And you'll find that paintings get much more interesting when you analyze the why of the painting, not just the painting itself. So, for those of you who have been eagle-eyed viewers in the first 2 seasons, you may have noticed that when I have the visual aid scene up, there's always a background painting. And season 1 and this season, we've used 2 different Hieronymus Bosch paintings. The first one was probably his most famous painting, The Garden of Earthly Delights. And the second one is one of his lesser-known paintings, but still a very popular painting that he did called The Wedding of the Peasants. And they're really cool paintings. One of the kind of signatures of his styles was these huge canvases with just unbelievable amounts of weird, goofy shit going on all in the periphery. And it's super interesting shit. Well, I was looking at some of his other work and stumbled across a much lesser known painting of his called The Adoration of the Child. He did it as like a triptych, and there's the Adoration of the Child and the Adoration of the Magi and so on. Well, this painting is weird. Let's just come out and say it. It's a weird painting, okay? But I noticed that I couldn't really find a lot of critical analysis of it, mainly because it's not a great nativity scene. It's just not. And so people have kind of never really paid any attention to this painting. And as I started to analyze it and look at it, I realized there's a lot of cool shit going on in that painting. In fact, there's the kind of shit that proves the space dragon is real and kind of fills in all the gaps I've been looking for. So let's take a look at it, shall we? Let's take a look and let's talk about it for a minute. Oh boy. I don't understand why that breaks the stream. But it does. Let's see if we can get this to fix. Okay, I think we're fixed. I apologize. I don't know why my stream setup really hates when I switch to the aid here, but I think we're good. In theory. So, let's look at this weird ass painting. Okay, so there you go. We've got the elements of what you normally expect to see. Oh, Kurt Cummings, welcome, my friend, welcome. We are just getting into this weird ass painting that Hieronymus Bosch painted. So, I mean, right there on the surface, this is not. It really doesn't want me telling the truth. I don't know why it hates when I switch the scene so much. It's a recent development that I have not been able to really figure out why. But thank you for being here, Kurt. We appreciate it. So we've got this weird-ass nativity scene. And you can see why this is not an incredibly popular painting. It's fucking weird, right? Like, why is the cow just mugging at the camera? Why does that donkey look like it's straight from hell? Why does Joseph look like he's about to pull a knife out and stab that baby, or is he just tweaking his nip? I don't think so. I don't think the CPU is overtaxed. That's what I don't understand. And it didn't have this problem for the longest time. It's fucking weird. But, yeah, you get the weird donkey. Obviously, you got Mary there. We got some creepy fuck in the back who we don't even know what he's doing. But, let's take a deeper glance at this painting, okay? So, first things first. These angels are fucking creepy, right? Look at these angels. My man is shredding on his little, you know, lute or whatever he's got there. Little annoyed that the angels didn't bother to learn the music that they're supposed to be singing because, you know, they had to bring sheet music. I think we all want to one day get as high as the dude playing the harp because he's partying, okay? But, you know, not often there's a lot of extra people here for your typical nativity scene. Generally, a nativity scene is Mary, Joseph, Jesus. Maybe a stray animal in the back. Sometimes the Magi. Not a small contingent of tiny angels, which is a little weird. This fucking... Is it a guy? Maybe. Why does he have what appears to be a freelax? You know, the thing that women use so they can pee standing up. Why does he have that? What is with this creepy fucking guy? Like, who is he? What is he doing here? Nobody knows. And then what do we have in the background? That looks an awful lot like a dragon. That looks like a dragon, folks. If you don't see it, I don't know what to tell you. And at the bottom of the screen there, just to the left of the bird, you see it's pixelated because I had to blow it up so much because this was a small painting. But that is supposed to be Hieronymus Bosch sitting on the hillside. So let's go back to the whole thing here now, and let's analyze this using some critical thinking. Now, one of the things that you need to remember when paintings are done is there's some rules you can follow to help understand them. And I'm going to tell you why I think this makes so much sense. Why I think this is so interesting. Generally, in a painting, when you put things on the left side, one storytelling idea about that is that those are the falsehoods. The falsehoods go on the left side of your canvas. The truth goes on the right. If you look over Mary's shoulder there is someone burning a manger and warming their hands and feet by the fire of the manger. To me, that could be a subtle idea that the traditional nativity as we know it is bupkis. And what's on the right? Over Joseph's head? The space dragon. And what does the space dragon look like he's doing? He looks like he's leaving. Now, why would the space dragon leave? Because he's not needed anymore. Now that Jesus has been born, he is now El's liaison to mankind. So the space dragon is leaving. He won't be needed again till the book of Revelation. That's my interpretation of what Bosch is saying here. He's saying that the old is gone. We don't have the crazy, angry Yahweh the space dragon. He's going to fly off into the distance. And Jesus is now El's direct line to us. Is that what Bosch meant? I have no idea. But he's not here to tell me I'm wrong, so we're going to go with it. That is what we're going to do. We now are going to consider this part of our canon, that this painting was part of a secret society of painters who knew that the space dragon theory was correct. And, you know, also, seriously, that cow and donkey are fucking creepy. Just, that had to be said. So, today's sermon is going to be about 18 inches of justice. And yeah, that should be a porno name if it isn't. Because it rolls off the tongue. Pun intended. So, what are we talking about with 18 inches of justice? We're talking about a cubit. Let's get to know the cubit a little bit, because it factors in our story here. It has varied in length for many, many years. The cubit has always bounced around. It's never been a solid measurement. So you always, whenever you read that something is a cubit, you need to take into account the time period, because that will tell you how long a cubit actually is. Generally, 17.5 to 20.5. It varies, but that is generally where you're at. Unless you're a Roman and you're clearly compensating for something and you have a 47-inch cubit, because that makes no fucking sense. But we've already established that the Romans were assholes. When you read the Bible, 18 inches. Just go with that. You read cubit in the Bible, think 1.5 feet. How do you measure a cubit? I'm glad you asked. It is from the bend in the elbow to the tip of the middle finger. Everybody's arm and elbow length is different. And now you know why cubits were a terrible idea for a form of measurement. Because they're not uniform. But, you know, right there, that's basically a cubit. So, if you want to start measuring things in cubits, you'll be weird but cool. So, just wanted to put that out there so that everybody knew what we were talking about. Okay? Let's move along. Today, we're going to talk about Ehud. On the scale of Bible heroes, this guy is probably my dude. This is like my guy. I have been a fan of this guy since I was a little kid. Nobody knows this Bible story for the most part, and it's a fucking shame. Because he is the Southpaw Ninja Assassin. I mean, seriously, motherfuckers, get behind this. Get behind this. It's so goddamn good. I can't wait to tell you this story. This guy, he's a Tarantino movie waiting to happen. He's a badass. Badass doesn't even begin to describe this dude. So, he was a member of the tribe of Benjamin. And if you remember, we've mentioned them before. Now, there were 12 tribes. Benjamin, they were kind of the youngest of the 12 sons. And this is really cool backstory that doesn't really have anything to do with our story, but I like it, so we're going to talk about it. Benjamin's mother died in childbirth. She died right after. And she wanted to name him Ben-Omi, which means son of my pain. Which, okay, I probably just launched like 12 fucking bands with that name, but go for it. But his father said, no, I'm not going to name him son of my pain. I'm not going to honor my dying wife's wishes because I'm a misogynistic cunt like most everyone else in the Old Testament. So I'm going to name him Benjamin, which means son of my right hand, which you're about to find out is fucking hilarious. They were absolutely not to be fucked with. This is going to seem like a really cliche thing for people who've studied the classics, but I think to the general audience this will make sense. The tribe of Benjamin, you almost have to compare them to the Spartans. These dudes lived to fight. They were pugnacious. They did not suffer insults or fools. They didn't give a fuck. The tribe of Benjamin were intense. These guys were at the front of the charge in battle. The tribe of Benjamin multiple times took on all 11 of the other tribes when it came to, like, tribal warfare, and they held their own. At one point, Yahweh ordered them destroyed because of a little incident that we briefly talked about in an earlier sermon with the guy. We talked about it during the Lot story, of the parallel story of a gang from the tribe of Benjamin wanted to rape this traveler. And instead, he sent them out his concubine, and they raped her to death, and then cut her in little pieces, and shipped one piece of her to each one of the other tribes to let them know who they were fucking with. God was not pleased about that, and ordered the tribe destroyed. It got a whole lot of people killed, and eventually the Israelites didn't destroy the tribe of Benjamin because they were like, these guys are too badass. We can't. So don't fuck with these guys. Yeah, almost every time that the tribe of Benjamin is specifically mentioned in the Bible, it's because they're doing some, crazy military shit. These guys were the tip of the spear. Some famous Benjamites. King Saul, Ehud, who we're going to talk about today, St. Paul, who not only was he a prick, but his name was Saul of Tarsus beforehand, and he traveled around hunting down Christians and killing them. Because, again, that's just something a guy from the tribe of Benjamin would do. Just badass stuff. And the 700 Southpaw snipers. Reverend Riff, 700 Southpaw snipers. I heard you all. Please tell us more about that story. Okay, if you really want to hear about the 700 Southpaw snipers, I can do that. Comes from Judges, chapter 20, verse 16. Among all these soldiers, there were 700 select troops who were left-handed, each of whom could sling a stone at a hair and not miss. So the Israelites decided to fuck with those 700 guys. What happened? The Benjamites came out of Gibeah and cut down 22,000 Israelites on the battlefield that day. That is a lot of rocks and a lot of busted heads. That is the only time these guys are mentioned, but it's fucking amazing. And so, as I told you at the beginning of this slide when we started talking, Benjamin means son of my right hand. I find that absolutely hysterical because left-handedness is only mentioned 1, 2, 3, there's that number again, 3 times in the Bible. Left-handedness is mentioned. All 3 of them are in reference to someone from the tribe of Benjamin. We're talking about 700 left-handed, snipers here. Benjamin was not a huge tribe. And as we know, left-handedness generally only occurs in about 10% of the population. So for Benjamin to have an entire division of shock troops that are left-handed, as well as every other time in the Bible that left-handedness is mentioned, it is mentioned with the tribe of Benjamin. I find that really interesting, especially because Benjamin means son of my right hand. It's very funny to me. Yep. Left-handedness rules. I am a southpaw, so naturally this stuff really, really sticks with me. I love it. So, let's take a look at this map so I can set the stage for you. Yeah, sinister. We're sinister. Also, that is going to play into this story a little bit, because I'm sure that you know that in many other countries in the world, still to this day, but certainly at the time of our story, you did one thing with your left hand. One thing. You wiped your ass. That is what your left hand was for. In India, that is still very common. They don't have toilet paper in a lot of bathrooms. You wipe your ass with your hand and then you wash your hands. And that is why you never go to shake hands with someone with the left hand. You don't pat someone on the back with the left hand. That factors into our story. So here you see a map. You see the tribe of Benjamin there. You see some of the other tribes. Well, Ehud was from Benjamin, located right there. Helping everybody see where that is. And the Israelites had been under heavy oppression by Eglon, the king of Moab, for the last 18 years. We're not sure how old Ehud was in this story, but we believe him to be a fairly young man because the Bible talks about him living for a great deal of time after this event. So you have to imagine that Ehud has lived most of, if not all, of his life under the oppression of the Moabites. What had happened is Moab had made a deal with Ammon and the Amalekites. They kind of teamed up as a, triple-headed monster and attacked and subjugated the Israelites with Eglon of Moab being in charge. So now that, that kind of sets the stage for where we're at. The Bible version of it is, again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. Remember Judges. Judges has a flow. Israel is bad. Someone oppresses them. They cry out. God delivers them through a judge. Then we repeat the cycle. That's how it works. So again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. And because they did this evil, the Lord gave Eglon, king of Moab, power over Israel. Getting the Ammonites and Amalekites to join him, Eglon came and attacked Israel, and they took possession of the city of Palms. That's another name for Jerusalem, just like Paris is the city of lights. The Israelites were subjected to Eglon, king of Moab, for 18 years. That is a shame, Kurt, because Judges is just filled with great stories. So again, the Israelites cried out to the Lord, and he gave them a deliverer, Ehud, a left-handed man, the son of Gera the Benjamite. The Israelites sent him with tribute to Eglon, king of Moab. Now Ehud had made a double-edged sword about a cubit long. He's got an 18-inch sword, which he strapped to his right thigh under his clothing. He presented the tribute to Eglon, king of Moab, who was a very fat man. Can we talk about for a second? The Bible does not describe anything else about this guy, but wants you to know how fat this fucking guy was. I think that's pretty impressive because he had to have been gigantic. There's no way that you go out of your way to mention how fat this guy is unless it's, just something to see. After Ehud presented the tribute, he sent on their way those who had carried it. But upon reaching the stone images near Gilgal, he himself went back to Eglon. This passage is a little confusing. I really looked into it, and it appears that what it's actually saying is that Ehud left with the guys. It says he sent them away, but I think more what happened was Ehud and the guys who brought the tribute left together. And way bigger than Howard Taft, custom bathtub and all. He sent those guys back, and he doubles back because he wants to look like a traitor. That is what is going on here. Ehud is selling the idea that he is a traitor. So he sneaks back after the rest of the guys who brought the tribute are going back to Israel. And he sneaks back and says, "Your Majesty, I have a secret message for you." He's really selling the traitor thing here, because he waited, kind of went back with the other guys, and then sneaks back on his own. It's pretty brilliant maneuvering, if you ask me. Now, why is this picture here, Riff? Glad you asked. This is what a shitter looked like in ancient times. Well, if you're the king, you get a private shitter. And one of the things that it was referred to in the Bible, one of the rooms for it, is a summer parlor. That is one of the names that means a shitter. Why is that important? Because that's about to happen in a minute. And I feel like this definitely bears some explanation. One of the ways that kings in the old day, yeah, it's going to be a tad warm in the summer. I'm sitting on that shady side. That seems to be the safer place to press your cheeks. But one of the things that kings used to do, and I'm assuming it was just a flex, that was kind of how it was presented to me when I studied it, is that they actually enjoyed receiving guests while they were taking a dump. That it was kind of like a power move. Like, yeah, I'm sitting here taking a shit. What'd you need? And it's not something you would do to an honored and esteemed guest, but a guest that you wanted to make sure that he knew he was below you on the food chain. You would invite him to come talk to you while you're dropping a deuce. Just like make him smell your shit. It's a weird flex, but it is definitely something that was done at the time. I feel like you needed that context for the next part of this story to make sense. So Ehud approached to him while he was sitting alone in the upper room of his palace, and he said, "I have a message from God for you." As the king rose from his seat, Ehud reached with his left hand, drew his sword from his right thigh, and plunged it into the king's belly. Even the handle sank in after the blade, and his bowels discharged. Ehud did not pull the sword out, and the fat closed in over it. Then Ehud went out to the porch. He shut the doors of the upper room behind him and locked them. After he had gone, the servants came and found the doors of the upper room locked. They said he must be relieving himself in the inner room of the palace. They waited to the point of embarrassment, but when he did not open the doors of the room, they took a key and unlocked them. There they saw their lord fallen to the floor, dead. What happened? Ehud sneaks in, dude's taking a dump, and goes, "Yeah, what's your story?" And he says, I mean, come on. Think of this like an action movie, guys. Ehud gives him the one, like, "I have a message from God for you." Pulls out a fucking 18-inch dagger that he has concealed under his clothes on the right thigh. Probably would not have been something the guards would have checked, because the guards would assume that you would draw right-handed, so they would be more worried about the other side. They wouldn't be thinking that this guy was going to cross-draw like that. I mean, it goes all the way as, if you've ever wondered, gentlemen, why your clothes button the way they do, the reason that your clothes button left side over the right side is so that if you had your sword on the right side, when you went to draw it, the handle would not catch itself in the buttons of your clothing. If you were left-handed, that could present a problem. This has all been, this is all part of your life and you don't even think about it. But yeah, Ehud says, "I have a message from God for you." Whips out a sword, stabs this fat ass in the stomach with an 18-inch sword. It goes all the way in to the point that the fat closes over it. He literally just has the entire sword inside of him. He shits everywhere and falls down dead. Ehud locks the bathroom door and sneaks out, And while all the guards stand around waiting to the point of embarrassment before they go in and find that their king has been assassinated and Ehud is long gone. We have an amazing artist rendering of that. And so I love this painting. There is a ton of great artwork about Ehud killing Eglon. I encourage you to go down that Google rabbit hole. There's some good stuff, but this one is one of my favorites. It's the left hand, boom, into the giant fat guy, and poo goes everywhere. While they waited, Ehud got away. He passed by the stone images and escaped to Syria. When he arrived there, he blew a trumpet in the hills in the country of Ephraim, and the Israelites went down from the hills with him leading them. "Follow me," he ordered, "for the Lord has given Moab, your enemy, into your hands." So they followed him down and took possession at the fords of the Jordan that led to Moab. They allowed no one to cross over. At that time they struck down about 10,000 Moabites, all vigorous and strong. Not one escaped. That day Moab was made subject to Israel, and the land had peace for 80 years. So yeah, Ehud, after he assassinates the king, he runs to the hills, he blows his shofar, the fucking troops amass, they hit Moab. Moab, of course, in complete disarray, as their king has just been assassinated, and they get routed. Apparently 10,000 of them get struck down, and it's a reversal of fortunes. Now the Israelites have been subjugated by the Moabites have been subjugated by the Israelites. Easy for me to say. Yeah, there is a ton of quality artwork, yet nobody knows this Bible story. I don't get it. I don't understand it. All right, let's see if it's gonna. You think it's gonna let me switch the scene? Do we dare try? I think we dare. Let's live boldly. Oh, I think it actually worked. So yeah. It is one of those crazy Bible stories that I absolutely love that nobody knows. Nobody talks about this story. But come on. The left-handed guy sneaks in a dagger, stabs the fat guy. The sword gets stuck inside of him. And then nobody bothers to check on him because they think he's taking a shit. Like, come on. Where is my action movie of this? This is a great story. It's compelling. It's interesting. How Game of Thrones didn't rip this off, I'll never know. Like, you couldn't have had a fat king that got stabbed with a sword getting stuck in him. I mean, come on. Come on, man. It's there. It's there for you. And it would be hilarious. Stick with it. Come on. But yeah. That is the story of Ehud. And, a prediction started. Well, I guess no one, because it didn't crash the stream, as amazing as that was. But yeah, here's a little bit of the story that I know everybody's going to enjoy too. Do you know who comes after Ehud in the judging lineage? That's right, it's your boy Shamgar. That is the only guy that could follow this story. It is often pointed out that Shamgar's story just follows at the end of Ehud's, likely because they were probably neighbors. It is more than likely that Shamgar would have lived in the territory. Remember, we already established that Shamgar was not an Israelite. But Shamgar would have lived in Ehud's backyard, basically. So, I've always thought it was interesting that the story of Ehud Just kind of ends, and the last verse about Ehud says that Ehud reigned over Israel until he died. And then the very next verse is the verse about Shamgar whooping some ass with an ox goad. Yeah, if you live on Ehud and Shamgar Street, you walk with your head down. You don't make eye contact. You don't say shit. Because you've got two absolute badasses living in your neighborhood. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think Shamgar would have the bigger smoker, but Ehud would have that stealth meat that you didn't even know he was over there smoking. And the next thing you know, he's like, would you like some brisket, ribs, or a steak? I've got all of them. Because he's prepared. But yeah, that is the story of Ehud. I just think it's great. It's a simple story, but it really does... It's different than a lot of the other Judges stories. Most of the Judges stories are just big battle, and this one still got it. But the fact that this one has an assassination at the beginning of it is very different. A lot of the Bible stories love to emphasize that Yahweh makes the army invincible, and that it's just big pitched battle because this person rose up and took control. And in this story, it's a little different. It's, you know, that Ehud, and again, there's no mention. The other thing I like about Ehud is this is, and it's similar to the Shamgar story. Let me tell you what I mean. I find that in all of the other stories, there is some mention of a dialogue between God and the judge. It's the Lord, God comes to them, the Lord comes to them, Yahweh comes to them. It's always mentioned that there's some kind of dialogue, and that's where the judge gets their, motivation. We don't hear that with Ehud or Shamgar. It says that the Lord, rose Ehud up, but we never actually hear about God going like, hey, Ehud, I want you to make a dagger and go kill that fat fuck Eglon. That never gets said. It almost seems like Ehud was a self-actualized man, and that he was like, this asshole has got to go. Nobody else is going to do it. I'm going to fucking do it. And Shamgar, kind of the same thing. He was like, hey, there's some dickheads here. I have this giant stick. Let's erase the dickheads. And so I feel like that's kind of a cool part of this story, is that, God takes all the credit, because everybody in the Bible, oh, God did it, God did it. Did he? Did he do it? Or did Ehud decide to get something done, and he got things done? The other little nugget that I would like to leave you with this week from this story is that Ehud took what, especially at that time, and even today, is considered, if I don't even know if I want to use the word disability, might be hard, but certainly a disadvantage. Being left-handed is certainly considered a disadvantage. Back then, it was considered a deficiency. And what did he do? He used that to his advantage. He took what made him unique and what others said made him weak or flawed, and he used that to save everybody's butt. He wasn't the hero they deserved. He was the hero they needed. So, the next time somebody tells you that there's something wrong with you, or there's something about you that doesn't fucking jive, doesn't fit in, doesn't go with everybody, you think about Ehud. And you remember how Ehud used his disadvantage to his advantage and looked like a badass. I mean, I love to envision that, after they destroyed, Moab, that Ehud walked away from an explosion slowly with the wind blowing through his hair. I try to end it on a positive note. And to me, that is the takeaway here of this story, is that, what makes you unique can sometimes be, others may not see the advantage. And that's on them. That's not on you. That's not on you, Kings. So go out and be like Ehud. I mean that sincerely. Don't stab fat people. That might be too far. But if they're fat people that are oppressing you, then you stab the shit out of them with a 1-cubit blade. So thanks for being here this week, everybody. I love you all. This means the world to me that you hang out with me every Sunday morning. I truly enjoy it. I hope you do too. And I'm going to get that poll up for you today so that we can do our double feature on Wednesday night, my last night for the next month and a half as a bipedal human. So let's watch some bad movies and make me feel better about the bullshit that's going to go down Thursday morning. I truly enjoy it. I'm glad you guys do too. So go forth and be like Ehud. Be like Ehud this week. I'm going to try to live my life a little more like Ehud this week. I want you all to do the same. So thank you so much for being here, Kurt.